citizens, friends, and families. I'm back with another West African folktale. Anansi does the impossible. Long, long ago, when the earth was set down and the sky was lifted up, all folktales were owned by the sky gods. One day, Anansi and the spider said to his wife, "Aso, is it wrong that the tales our storytellers have told for generations belong to the sky god? I'm going to buy them for our earth people." Aso said, "Do you really think that you can bargain with anyone so powerful? Anansi, I fear you are taking a morsel too big to fit in your mouth." "Well, we shall see," said Anansi, and the very next day he went to the sky god. Puffing out his chest, he said, "Your Excellency, I have come to buy your stories." The sky god beat his thunder. He bellowed, "What makes you think you can buy them? Kings have tried and failed, and you are not even a man. What would you want in exchange for them?" The sky god rubbed his great chin. At last he said, "The price is 3 impossible tasks. Bring me a python, a real fairy, and 47 stinging hornets." "I can manage that," said Anansi. Anansi went home, told his wife, "I have to pay a live python, a real fairy, and 47 stinging hornets for the stories. However can I manage that?" Aso thought and thought. Finally, she said, "I know how to begin," and she whispered in Anansi's ear. Anansi chuckled, and at once he ran with Aso to a nearby river. There they sat on a log and waited. See if they capture that python. Presently, a python came slithering down to the water to drink. Anansi said in a loud voice, "It is longer than he is." "Not longer," said Aso, "maybe just as long." The big snake raised his head. "What are you two arguing about?" he asked. "I say the log we're sitting on is longer than you," Anansi answered, "but my wife says it's not." "This small thing, I know I am longer. I feel longer." "Well," said Anansi, "you look shorter to me." And trick that python. "I'll show you," said the python. He lay down on the log, putting his nose with one end of it. "Your tail is too short." "Now my nose is too short," cried the python, and he wiggled back to the end of the log. "I know what to do," said Aso. Tie his tail to the other end. Then he can make himself longer." Anansi took a long bush rope and began winding it around the snake's tail and the log. The python tried to make himself longer. He stretched and stretched. Meanwhile, Anansi kept winding until he wound the rope all the way up to the python's head. When he had the python tied tight, he cried, "You're foolish. You let me catch you. Now I'm going to take you to the sky god." And off he went, dragging the python behind him. When Anansi gave the huge snake to the sky god, his scowl darkened the sun. He said, "Is it true you have brought me the python? But you have yet to bring a real fairy and 47 stinging hornets." All right, you got one task done. Anansi went home to Aso and asked, "How are we going to catch a fairy?" Aso thought and thought. Finally, she said, "I know how." She whispered into Anansi's ear. Anansi laughed, as Aso had suggested. He carved a wooden fairy and covered it with sticky gum from a mimosa tree. Aso put a tiny dish of banana into its hand. When the moon was bright, Anansi took the make-believe fairy to the odum tree where the fairies liked to play. He tied a long string to the wooden fairy's back and another to its head. Then, clutching the ends of the string, he hid behind some bushes. Creative. Presently, some fairies came tripping to the autumn tree. They danced around it, and one of them cried in a tingling voice, "Look, here is a stranger. She has a dish of bananas." The fairy sister smacked her lips. "Ask her to give us some," she said. So the fairy asked, "Kind stranger, may I have a taste of your bananas?" Anansi pulled one string and the doll nodded its head. The fairy took a tiny taste. "Ooh," she said, "your bananas are delicious. Thank you." The wooden fairy said nothing. "Look," said the first fairy, "I told her thank you, yet she didn't answer me." "Slap her spanking place," said the fairy. The first fairy hit hard. Her hand stuck. "Let me go! Let me go!" she cried. The sister said, "Hit her again. That will teach her to let you go." The first fairy stuck the doll with her other hand, and that stuck too. Quickly, Anansi pulled the string. Now the doll with the fairy attached came bumping over to him. The little fairy screamed in her eerie little voice as she was being dragged away, and her sister shrieked as they ran after her. Anansi soon outran those other fairies. Then he said to the one he had caught, "Little fairy, I'm going to take you to the sky god." And he did. When the sky god saw Anansi coming with the fairy, he roared, "How can a measly creature like you perform these impossible tasks?" But then he added, "I admit that the python and the fairy are here. Still, you have not brought me the 47 hornets." Anansi ran home to Aso. "How are we going to catch 47 hornets?" Aso thought and thought. Finally, she said, "I know how." Anansi laughed. As Aso had suggested, he plucked a bottle-shaped gourd from a calabash tree, whistled a wooden cork for it, and filled it with water from the river. Next, he found a hornet's nest in a bush, climbing high up a nearby tree. He tipped the bottle and let the water gurgle down upon the hornets. These two got great ideas. "My brothers," called Anansi, "do you want a better shelter? See, in this calabash you will be safe and dry." He held out the empty gourd. The hornets buzzed around. One flew in, then another and another. When Anansi had counted 47, he popped the top. "Little hornets," he said, "I'm going to take you to the sky god." And off he went. The sky god saw Anansi coming at once. He flashed his thunder and beat his lightning. Holding out the buzzing gourd, Anansi said, "In here are the 47 stinging hornets. Do you want to count them?" "No," cried the sky god. He grew up his hands in resignation and said, "Anansi, you have paid the price. The live python, the real fairy, and the 47 stinging hornets are mine. From now on, the stories belong to you." Anansi thanked the sky god, then he hurried home. Wow. He got all 3 impossible tasks done. That night, the people of the village gathered inside a circle of fires for storytelling, and Anansi told how he and Aso had managed to buy the sky god stories. The people rejoiced, chanting, "Honor to Anansi! Honor to Aso! Honor to Anansi and Aso!" And from that day to this, the folk tales of West Africa have been called Anansi Tales. Very cool story. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Anansi does the impossible. Realistically, his wife had all the great ideas. I hope you guys are doing well. And I'll talk to you soon. Bye.